Kentucky fans are not talking enough about Lamont Butler. That is going to be the conversation on today's episode of the Wildcats Today Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak, writer and editor over at Kentucky Wildcats on SI, joined as always by my co-host, the Carson Nash. Carson, you're still wearing Clay's hat, but it's almost the weekend. How are we feeling? Are we fired up?
Yeah, I'm fired up for sure. I'm definitely excited for the weekend. Thursday night football tonight. That's exciting. Get us started for a good football weekend and talk some ball today.
Got some good college football games this weekend. Tennessee, Oklahoma is going to be a good game. I wish Bama, Georgia was this weekend. That's next weekend. I wish it was this weekend. That would have been really ideal. But this is a non-Georgia talking podcast anymore after our little Tuesday situation. But, Carson, sometimes I just sit and I stare at the ceiling for about 4 hours on end because that's a lot of what I do. And this is really when I have my breakthrough thoughts. And for some reason, Mike and I last night were watching highlights we were watching some Andrew Carr highlights, and we were watching some Ortega highlights and some Kerr highlights because we were bored. And, the thought that comes to my brain, well, today Andy Katz put out his top 16 defenders in college hoops article. Lamont was ranked number 6 on that list. Amari wasn't on there, which was a little surprising to me, I thought. But beside the point. And, it really made me sit back and think, Carson, Lamont Butler is going to play such a massive role for this team in more factors than just his defense. His defense is elite. We've known that. He's won Defensive Player of the Year. But, Carson, I think he's going to score more than people are giving him credit for. He averaged a little bit less than 10 points a game last year at San Diego State. And now I just think that he's going to have a good year offensively. And I think that knowing what Kentucky has offensively, his defense is going to be so, so crucial. So what do you think, Carson? Are we not talking enough about Lamont Butler?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that every team in the country wants to have because he can go on the court and lock up the other team's best point guard. And most of the time, the other team's point guard is their best player. And so having that in the SEC, being able to lock down the Mark Sears, the Zakai Zieglers of the
Hubbard,
world.
Yeah.
To be able to go out and lock them down and kind of slow their offense down is only going to help us out at all, because you're going to be able to get stops, get in transition. So it's going to help your offense, the fact of him being so good at defense.
I'm right there with you on that. I just think that the way that he plays the basketball game, it's going to be so huge. He's going to tire out opposing guards. Can you imagine?
He's a bully. He's a big guard.
100%. But can you imagine if we shut down Mark Sears twice because of Lamont Butler? Mark Sears is right up there to win the Wooden Award. He's a top 5, player to win the Wooden Award. And if you tell me now, shut down for a guard, he's still going to jack up 19 shots. If you hold him to 13 points, that's a win. But that's what Lamont Butler can give you. He can make really good guards, and he's also not he's not a huge guard, but 6'2", 6'3", he's able to guard. And there's not going to be a lot of point guards that are towering over him. I mean, Mark Sears is 5'4". I mean, it's he's going to be able to guard him well. But the point is, I just think that having your starting lineup, which we presume to be Lamont Butler, Kobe Brea, Jackson Robinson, Andrew Carr, and Amari Williams, you have your scorers in Carr, Robinson, and Brea. You have your defenders. You have a guard defender in Butler and a rim protector in Amari Williams. Now, I think that Amari Williams can score around the rim. Lamont Butler, we know, can score. He can shoot. He can score when he needs to. Those guys can score, but they're out there to play defense. And I'll tell you, I think having guys like that are going to give you shutdown defense with the scorers you have are going to give this Kentucky team the perfect amount of balance on both ends of the floor, which is going to just be huge all season long.
Yeah, and Kentucky fans will know. I kind of compare Lamont a little bit to like a Ashton Higgins, because there were times when Ashton just completely took over the game with his defense. And I think Lamont can do that. And I mean, Ashton took way more risk than Lamont did. I think Lamont's better like staying in front of people. Ashton like jumped routes and really was just steel baiting the whole time almost. But I think Lamont's more of a sit in front of your face and just make sure you don't get off a good shot.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm right there with you on that. But I mean, like, look through this. Looking at Lamont's, I mean, yes, he averaged 9.3 points per game. But I mean, here's a 23-point game, a 16-point game, 13, 16, 12. In the NCAA tournament, he had 15 against UAB in the opening round to go with 4 steals, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. Then against Yale in the round of 32, 9 points, 1 steal, 3 assists. And then in the loss, the blowout loss, I remember watching that game, 82-52 to UConn, but still has 7 points, 2 blocks, a steal, 6 assists, 2 rebounds. He helps the team in so many ways. He'll grab you some boards. He'll block a couple shots on guards. He'll pass the ball and find open guys for assists.
He's very physical as a guard, which is nice. It's almost like he's like an Isaiah Briscoe type size where he's a big body type guard.
Yeah, he's got that. They list him at 6'2" here, but 205 pounds. You know, I haven't interviewed him once now. I mean, and being around him, it's like, yeah, he's not 6'8", but my goodness, like he's built. Like you know what I mean? He's strong. He's kind of got that build where you can get to the rim. He can shoot. He can do it all when it comes to offensive. He has that bag in him.
And to piggyback off what you said for offensively, we have so many weapons that I think he's in the best situation he's probably ever been in his career as like teammates wise, skill wise. So it's just going to open up way more opportunities for him to score.
I'm right there with you. And you know, what I love about Lamont Butler, on top of everything we've already mentioned, is when the lights get bright in the month of March, he's been there. He's played a national championship game that his shot got his team to. And, you know, he's played in that. He was in the Sweet 16 last year. Obviously, they were utterly annihilated by UConn, but so would have the 06 Lakers. I mean, like, you know, that's just the reality here. I look at this and I get really fired up for what he's going to bring to the team because I'm serious. It's, you know, and there's going to be games where you go, man, Lamont Butler played well. And then you pull up the stat sheet and he has 6 points, 2 steals, a block, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. And you go, oh, and you're like, he's just always doing something. And that's what I like about him. But then he's going to have the game where maybe Andrew Carr isn't he's not getting them to fall around the rim. Or maybe Jackson Robinson and Kobe Bryant can't get him to land from deep, right? Then he says, damn it, I got to take this game over. And he'll give you 23 points. He's capable of doing that. And that's what I love about him as a player. I mean, like, look at his career. You know, he's averaged career-wise 7.7 points, but he's also averaged 2.6 assists in his career, 1.4 steals, 2.3 rebounds. He always is doing something. He's always putting something in the stat sheet. He's
a
not
very, very efficient player.
Yeah. But I mean, he's not the guy out there to score 20 points. He's the guy out there to help you in every aspect of the game. He's an old school point guard, which is funny because you don't see him a lot anymore.
Yeah.
Defense, passing, and score when he needs to. That's what Lamont Butler is. But he's capable of putting a lot of points on the board. And, you know, he's going to be like an offensive lineman, Carson. We talk about offensive line a lot here on the show. There's going to be some games where you don't really notice him, but he's doing a lot good for the team because it's not going to be flashy. You know, and not to say he's not a flashy player, but he's not a fill up the scoreboard. He's not your Rob Dillingham, your Reed Shepherd type of guard. It's not what he's out there to do.
He's going to make the smart play every single time. Mm-hmm. And the smart play might not always be the flashy play.
Exactly. Yeah. He's not going to dive into the hole and get up on one knee and throw it to first base. You know, he's going to get in front of it and he's going to throw it over there. And you're going to, you know, he's always going to make the routine play, but routine plays win games. Yeah, Carson, I don't think that people are discussing him enough top to bottom.
I agree.
You and I include, like, everybody. I hear a lot about Kirk Risa for really valid reasons. I mean, he's a lights out shooter. He's going to be huge for this team off the bench.
And I'll say how much better do you think they're making each other in practice?
Oh, did I ever tell you about what Kerr said at the media viewing a month ago or so?
Mm-mm.
He said that he's never had a guy guard the length of the court in practice in late July. He literally was like, dude, chill out, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, which I love that. And I wrote an article about that over Kentucky Wildcats on our side. It's like, this is what you want. You need to push each other. Lamont Butler is trying to make Kerr Kriisa a better player. And in doing so, that's going to make Lamont Butler a better player and a better teammate, a better leader. Everything about his game and the way he handles himself, even during the interview. I mean, it was very obvious the type of leader he is when interviewing him. I mean, it was just very clear. The way he speaks, the way he talks about the game, the way he talks about his love of the game. It's very clear how much basketball in this team means to him. I'm really fired up, Carson, to see what he can do this season.
No, 100%. I think he is our captain this season. I think everything runs through him, and his biggest impact is just being out there. And he does everything right, and that's all you can ask for a player to do. And so he's got to be your guy.
And I know we already discussed it. We did already bring it up, but I'm telling you, this experience in March for Kerr as well. I mean, both of your point guards, that's 8 seasons of college basketball between your 2 point guards. They'll be going in, they'll be going into the next one. And it's just, to me, having those kind of guards. I mean, like, look at your ball handlers last year. You have young guys. You had DJ Wagner, freshman, Rob, freshman, Reed, freshman. Your ball handlers were young players. They were great players, but they were young. And in March, sometimes young loses games. I mean, even as much as we love Reed, I mean, this is a we love you, Reed Shepherd, forever and always podcast. He did not play well against Oakland. And you know what I mean? And that's the point. Sometimes under those bright lights, you want guys that have been there before. And these two have been there before, especially Lamont Butler.
In my opinion, when it gets later in the season and in March, the whistle starts to like go away a little bit. They start to let them play more physical. And I think the younger freshmen, when they're not as physical yet, they get bullied a little bit, and some of them don't respond well to it.
I'm with you. But I just think that having veteran point guards, it's exciting. It's not something during the Calipari era we saw a ton, because we saw a lot of freshmen. Obviously, you had some older point guards here and there. You had a Severe Wheeler. You had some other, guys that had played some college basketball. But this is exciting because these aren't second-year players. They aren't third-year players. These are legit veteran players that have played a lot of college basketball. And it's going to show even in games, we're talking about March. What about when you play Duke in Atlanta, Carson, under those bright lights? I mean, luckily Kentucky's players were ready for that last year, but they'd already played some games. This is one of the first, imagine last year's team playing Duke in Atlanta that early into the year. Wasn't it? Because the game we went to Atlanta was a little bit deeper into the year than this game is this year.
Yeah, but the last year's Kentucky team did play pretty good against Kansas, and
they did too. I forgot about that. They did show up against Kansas.
They played them in the Champions Classic. They played UNC in the CBS Classic.
That was the Cameron Coulter look away game. Remember that one? I told you that story. Oh man, Cameron Coulter lost a lot of money on a parlay in the game. And it was like $1 to win like a lot of money, and he wouldn't cash out on his cats, and it bit him in the behind. And there was it still makes me upset because I've always wanted to be in that position. Never have been, never will be. But that's a good point that they did play well in that game. I forgot about that game. I think I mentally blocked it out because I was so angry. But I think having point guards like that against Duke, a very young team, is Cooper Flagg the best thing since sliced bread? Maybe. But it's going to be early into the year for him. Well, I'm not even saying maybe. Yes, he's incredibly awesome. We're not going to do this. This is a non-disrespecting Cooper Flagg podcast, as much as we might want to. But seriously, it's a young Duke team and a veteran Kentucky team. Normally, it's a young Duke team and a young Kentucky team, and they're kind of battling like we saw when it was Zion and Barrett and all those guys. Now it's an older Kentucky team against a young Duke team, and I'm fired up to see how this plays out. And that's kind of a theme for what I'm saying, Carson. in every aspect of the season, Kentucky's going to be a veteran team, and that's going to play out well for this basketball team throughout the whole season.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you got some young guys in there too with some
Yeah.
upside that will come in. I think Garrison will be a spark.
Mhm.
Pope on KSR today said that Ortega was probably all in all the best overall player we have. Not in those words, but making the most contributions overall in every aspect.
Yeah.
And then you got Travis Perry, who's lights out from three-pointer. He might get a chance to play. And then with the starters, Pope said on KSR today that Andrew Carr went 5 practices without missing a field goal.
I saw that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
We're almost there, really. I mean, we're almost to the start of the season. I'm just so fired up. I think this is going to be a special year. And I love too every list I see where there should be. And one thing that I've learned doing what I do for a living is you get to know a lot more about college basketball through the transfer portal, because every one of these players that's new on teams, I had to study at one point because of and just I don't get why people aren't as high on this team as they should be. I don't understand it. This team has an elite coach when it comes to X's and O's, knockdown shooters, guys that can get to the rim, and elite defenders. I don't know what more you want to see in a basketball team. If Dan Hurley had this basketball team, they'd be ranked number 1 right now. And if you, do you agree with that statement? Like,
I don't know if they'd be number 1. I think they'd be a lot higher than where they are right now, for sure.
Fair enough. But point is, I think that this team is getting a little bit of. You're right. Maybe I'm a little too hot there. But what I'll push back with this to my own statement. I think that this team is much, much better than they are being considered right now. I think they have everything they need to make a deep run. I think they have everything they need to be good on both ends of the floor. I think they have a great schedule that's going to prepare them for the NCAA tournament. I don't think this team is getting the hype they deserve, and I'm really fired up to see how they play this year.
100%. They're getting slighted by the media 100%.
Yeah,
and it's going to be a really, really good season for Kentucky fans, because it's going to be a lot of laughing in people's faces, because Kentucky basketball is still Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, there is no question about that. Carson, any other thoughts on this topic before we call it a day?
That's all I got. And yeah, people need to start learning about Lamont Butler. If you don't know, you're going to find out.
Yeah, if you don't know, you're going to find out soon enough. Hope everyone enjoys the ball game in Kruger Field on Saturday. The Ohio Bobcats are coming to town. Going to be a fun day here in Lexington. Score prediction. 35. I asked that person that's calling the score prediction. Who's calling? Anybody important?
Cade.
Oh, no score prediction from Cade. Cade's not.
He's wanting to know about banners tonight, probably.
Okay, well, we'll be there about 7:45. But
don't say we. You got a mouse in the pocket. But yeah, my score prediction probably.
Production?
I think Kentucky. Okay, my bad.
Oh, it's all good.
But I think Kentucky bounces back. I think Brock has a good game. Cats are going to win 35-10. I think 35-10.
I was getting ready. I was going to say 35-10. So now I'm going to say 35-7. There you go. I think that Cats win this game. I think they bounce back. I think Ohio's they're not a bad football team, but they're not an SEC football team. I think so. What I'm saying is, what's the line? Isn't it like 28? Let me see. My point is, I don't think the line is 20. Oh wow, it's actually 20. Point is, this is not, something state where the line's 58 points. This is an okay football team.
Are you taking 20?
Yeah, I think they cover 20 this game.
I think we cover 20.
I'm not. If it was 28 and a half, I'd be a little worried.
I think I'm comfortable taking the 20.
I agree with you. So we shall see, but I am fired up about this ball game. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Enjoy the football game. Basketball is coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. And then next week we'll have a little bit of Ole Miss. We're going to leave it Ole Miss. A little bit of Ole Miss to break down. So everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see y'all on Tuesday right here on the Wildcats Today Podcast.